Most traders fail not because the market is rigged, but because they bet too much too soon. Every rookie steps onto the floor convinced that the next trade will make them rich, blinded by the illusion of certainty. Professionals understand a brutal truth. The real danger lies not in choosing the right direction, but in the size of the position. Imagine risking 10% of your account on a so-called sure thing. The first few ticks may feel rewarding, inflating your ego, until the tape turns against you and those gains vanish in seconds. Losses compound faster than profits, and what looked like a clever bet transforms into a catastrophic error. Amateurs chase big wins, constantly reacting to what they wish would happen. Professionals scale, treating their capital not as a means for instant gratification, but as ammunition for calculated engagement. Money becomes a tool, risk becomes a guide, and patience becomes the ultimate edge. Jesse Livermore understood this distinction more than anyone. He once witnessed a stock surge 20 points in a single session, a move most traders would have treated as a signal to go all in. Instead, he purchased only 1/3 of the position he had planned, allowing the market to prove itself before committing further. When the trend continued and the momentum confirmed, he added another third. Finally, at the peak confirmation, he deployed the last portion of his intended stake. By breaking the trade into stages, he avoided catastrophic exposure while still capturing the vast majority of the move. The genius of this approach is deceptively simple. The main money is made in the waiting. Risk control is not optional. It forms the foundation of every professional strategy. Patience isn't about inaction. It's about selective, informed action. Each incremental step in position sizing allows the market to reveal its intentions, and each stage safeguards against the emotional pitfalls that destroy accounts. The average trader assumes certainty where there is none, and confidence where caution is required. Livermore's method of scaling in thirds forced him to observe before acting, to confirm before committing, and to respect the tape over his intuition. By treating the market as a teacher rather than an adversary, he ensured that each trade was evidence-based rather than ego-driven. Overconfidence is the silent killer of accounts, lurking in the moment between seeing a winning move and assuming you control it. Professionals understand that participation without patience is gambling. Amateurs mistake impulse for insight. The structured approach of incremental commitment not only controls risk, but also optimizes gain. The first portion acts as a probe, the second as a momentum capture, and the third is the full participation once the trend proves reliable. It's a method that simultaneously tames fear, channels greed constructively, and embeds discipline into every tick of the market. Most traders never grasp this simplicity. They believe that all-in bets are the shortcut to wealth, never realizing that small, staged entries often generate the majority of real profits. Scaling in thirds transforms volatility from a threat into an ally, allowing gains to compound while losses remain contained. It turns raw emotion into calculable strategy. Livermore's legacy reminds us that the market rewards patience more than prescience, observation over assumption, and control over hubris. Those who adopt this mindset avoid the trap of overconfidence, harness the flow of opportunity, and experience the consistent, measurable growth that separates professionals from amateurs. It's not about guessing correctly every time. It's about trading like a professional, not a gambler, letting the market prove its moves, and respecting the discipline that makes long-term success inevitable. By dividing positions into entry, confirmation, and expansion, traders gain control over both risk and reward, ensuring that overconfidence never eclipses prudence, and that patience transforms into profit. Most traders ignore a simple number that could change how they approach every trade. Roughly 66% of profits come from the second and third entries, not the first. The first third is never about riches, it's about confirmation. Yet amateurs routinely load up immediately, driven by fear of missing out, ignoring signals and the subtle cues the tape provides. They assume conviction alone is enough, but being right at the wrong time often destroys accounts. Professionals understand that confirmation matters far more than raw intuition. Jesse Livermore's tape-watching technique was legendary for precisely this reason. One morning he noticed a breakout that piqued his interest. Instead of jumping in fully, he bought a partial position, only 1/3 of what he might have risked in a single trade. By allowing the stock to prove itself with sustained volume and follow-through, He could observe whether momentum held without risking excessive capital. When the tape confirmed strength and the trend became clear, he added a second third, capturing most of the profit while never doubling his initial risk. The final third? That portion was reserved for full confirmation, where the trend's validity justified the maximum reward, not reckless exposure. This deliberate, staged approach ensured that risk remained manageable, emotion stayed in check, and profits were compounded systematically. Livermore understood that markets are dynamic, not static, and that betting everything up front is a gamble that rarely favors the undisciplined. The protocol is simple but disciplined. Buy the first third on initial setup, add the second third only after confirmation, and deploy the final third when the trend and tape align perfectly. Stop losses must be adjusted along the way to protect earlier gains, turning what could be random fluctuation into a structured strategy. The principle is clear: never let a trade prove you right, let it prove itself. The first entry acts as a probe, testing the market's commitment without overexposing capital. The second entry captures momentum, while the third ensures maximum participation once the trend has demonstrated its strength. Most traders overlook this sequence, treating conviction as a green light for total commitment. The result is catastrophic. Early over-leverage leads to panic selling, emotional mistakes, and accounts that fail to survive the inevitable reversals. Professionals, in contrast, view the process of scaling in thirds as a tool to convert uncertainty into an advantage. Each stage acts as a safeguard and a profit multiplier simultaneously. By compartmentalizing each portion of the position, traders manage risk more effectively, maintain clarity, and harness the full potential of trends without succumbing to fear or greed. This approach also enforces discipline. It forces traders to wait for confirmation, teaches them to respect the tape, and prevents impulsive decisions driven by ego. The psychology of restraint becomes just as important as the mechanics. Most profits emerge during the middle and final stages, yet amateurs habitually ignore these opportunities, over-investing in the first entry and missing the compounding effect of carefully timed additions. Livermore's method demonstrates that structured, incremental participation allows the market to reveal its intent while minimizing the potential for catastrophic loss. It is both a defensive and offensive strategy, transforming hesitation into an asset rather than a liability. By following this one-third protocol, traders can systematically increase gains while controlling risk, turning patience into profit and disciplined action into a competitive advantage. Understanding this principle also lays the groundwork for mastering the internal barriers that sabotage many trades: fear, greed, and impulsive behavior. Observing the tape, waiting for verification, and scaling thoughtfully not only maximizes returns but also instills a professional mindset that separates amateurs from seasoned traders. The mechanics of thirds, combined with mental discipline, create a framework where risk is quantified, emotion is controlled, and opportunity is fully leveraged, providing a repeatable system for sustainable profits. Every trader knows fear and greed, yet few truly control them. The first third of a trade tests the fear of missing out, the urge to jump in before confirmation, while the second tests confidence under pressure, challenging the trader to add when doubt creeps in. The third stage tests discipline, demanding restraint when the market is most tempting and emotions are at their peak. Jesse Livermore understood these psychological pitfalls better than most. He once wrote in his journal, "I lose far more money trying to prove myself than letting the market show the way." A rookie would have gone all in at the first sign of success, letting greed and pride dictate action. Livermore's restraint came from psychological priming. He treated each third as a separate trade, each with its own entry, stop-loss, and target. This mental framework turned fear and greed from enemies into guides, allowing him to respond to market signals rather than impulses. Each segment acted as a controlled experiment, testing the market while keeping risk limited. Treating each third independently forces the mind to stay focused, to observe without rushing, and to act only when conditions are objectively favorable. Traders must track their emotions closely. Fear signals indecision, and greed signals overextension. Recognizing these internal cues allows the professional to pause, adjust, and make rational choices. Sometimes, doing nothing is the best trade, a concept counterintuitive to amateurs who mistake action for mastery. Livermore relied on the tape to guide him, letting price and volume dictate moves rather than gut feelings or hope. Patience is profit. impulsiveness is. Punishment. Even when the market screams all in now, the professional instinct is to wait, to treat hesitation as a weapon rather than a weakness. Waiting is not passive. It is a calculated tool that preserves capital, sharpens judgment, and ensures that each commitment is justified by evidence, not desire. By compartmentalizing positions, traders avoid emotional bleed between entries and gain clarity, making each addition a deliberate, low-risk step toward larger profits. The psychology of thirds teaches discipline, enforcing rules even when temptation is strongest. Fear, when recognized, becomes a signal to limit exposure. Greed, when controlled, becomes a guide to maximize participation once confirmation arrives. Each third serves as both a mental checkpoint and a risk management device. Professionals internalize this process, understanding that consistent gains require controlling impulses and respecting the market's signals rather than projecting their will onto it. Livermore exemplified this through meticulous journaling, careful tape following, and unwavering attention to detail. He converted the abstract concepts of fear and greed into tangible steps, ensuring that each trade was measured, disciplined, and responsive to real conditions. Amateurs often overlook this, seeing trading as a test of courage rather than a systematic process. The principle is simple but profound. Patience compounds profits faster than intuition, and controlling your mind is as essential as reading the tape. By separating positions into thirds, the professional manages both capital and emotion, converting volatility into opportunity. This method enforces a mental structure where fear and greed are not obstacles but instruments for precise execution. Mastery comes from understanding that doing less at the right time often achieves more than acting impulsively at every opportunity. Those who internalize these lessons create a repeatable framework for success, maintaining clarity, composure, and consistency in a market designed to exploit weakness. By embedding psychological discipline into the mechanics of trading, every addition, every pause, and every confirmation becomes an actionable step toward sustainable profit, allowing the trader to multiply gains safely without increasing unnecessary risk. Here's a paradox. Most traders fail to grasp. You can increase exposure without increasing risk, but only if you pyramid correctly. The majority of amateurs do the opposite, confusing conviction with recklessness and piling in all at once, magnifying both potential reward and potential failure. Jesse Livermore understood that scaling in thirds allows risk to decrease as confidence rises. One of his favorite scenarios involved a stock breaking out on heavy volume. Instead of committing fully, he purchased the first third of his intended position and set a tight stop. The tape confirmed strength as momentum continued, and he added a second third, adjusting the stop loss on the initial portion to protect prior gains. The final third was reserved for full confirmation of the trend, ensuring that every increment of capital deployed was justified by evidence rather than emotion. By the close, his exposure had effectively doubled, yet the risk relative to his initial capital had actually fallen. This approach demonstrates the true power of pyramiding. The professional increases participation while simultaneously controlling downside, turning what appears to be leverage into a measured, strategic advantage. The process follows a deliberate sequence. First, enter on the initial setup with a tight stop to limit loss. Second, add to the position as the trend confirms, moving the stop on the prior portion to break even or beyond. Third, expand fully once the trend demonstrates consistent strength, capturing maximum gain without unnecessary risk. Throughout, position sizing is calculated based on total account value, never ego, ensuring that each increment aligns with risk tolerance and the structure of the overall portfolio. The difference between professionals and amateurs becomes strikingly clear. The amateur pyramids hope, committing all capital prematurely, while the professional pyramids risk, deploying capital in stages informed by evidence and market behavior. This technique requires discipline, patience, and constant observation of the tape. Each stage is treated as both a confirmation and a profit multiplier. Amateurs often misinterpret temporary momentum as permission to overcommit, ignoring the cumulative protective effect that staged entries provide. By pyramiding in thirds, each increment locks in gains, adjusts exposure dynamically, and creates a system where volatility becomes an asset rather than a threat. Livermore's method also illustrates the psychological benefits of incremental commitment. Each partial entry reduces stress, mitigates fear of loss, and allows the trader to act rationally rather than react emotionally. Waiting for confirmation before adding more capital builds confidence without exposing the account to catastrophic risk. The mechanics of pyramiding complement the psychological discipline of thirds, both control greed, fear, and impulsiveness, while reinforcing observation, patience, and methodical execution. When executed correctly, pyramiding transforms risk from a liability into a tactical tool, enabling participation in trends without gambling recklessly. Professionals repeat this strategy consistently, following rules, monitoring momentum, and adjusting stops dynamically, while amateurs remain vulnerable to sudden reversals and overleveraged positions. The takeaway is clear: scale slowly, follow the trend, lock in gains, and protect capital at every stage. By treating each addition as independent yet cumulative, traders convert potential volatility into structured opportunity, ensuring that every incremental move contributes to sustainable, repeatable wealth. This approach ties together the mechanics of position sizing, the psychology of restraint, and the strategic timing of entries to create a system where risk is quantified, exposure is managed, and profits are maximized over time. Understanding pyramiding in thirds is not just a technical skill, it is a mindset that separates disciplined professionals from impulsive amateurs. By mastering the timing, sizing, and sequencing of entries, a trader can consistently leverage trends, safeguard capital, and build long-term success without ever succumbing to overconfidence or greed. In Livermore's world, the professional's ability to pyramid risk intelligently, rather than chasing hope with reckless bets, was the secret to multiplying gains while maintaining control over losses. By now, the one-third rule is no longer a concept to admire from a distance. It is a fundamental framework for professional trading that demands understanding and disciplined execution. The strategy is simple in principle but powerful in practice. The first third is your entry point, where risk is minimal and the market is observed for confirmation. It functions as a test, allowing you to gauge the trend without overcommitting capital. The second third is added once the trend confirms itself, and stops are adjusted to protect the gains from the initial entry. This stage captures the bulk of potential profit, yet it does so in a controlled manner, reducing exposure to unforeseen reversals. The final third is deployed only after the trend is validated fully, providing the opportunity to maximize participation in a confirmed move while keeping risk managed. Discipline is essential at every stage. Traders must monitor their emotions, recognizing that fear signals hesitation and greed signals overextension. The tape, not intuition or hope, must guide every action. Stop losses are non-negotiable and should be tied to each portion of the trade, creating a structure where risk is quantifiable and losses are contained. Jesse Livermore rarely lost more than his first third, but his profits consistently came from the second and third entries, multiplied by the confirmation that the tape provided. This approach turns what could be random exposure into a repeatable, low-risk strategy. The maxim guiding this methodology is simple yet profound. Cut losses fast, size small, wait, and own your process. Each stage enforces both mechanical and psychological discipline, teaching the trader to act only when conditions are validated and to respect the market's signals over personal desire. Amateurs often fail by entering fully on the first signal, exposing themselves to catastrophic loss, or by abandoning trades prematurely due to emotional turbulence. Professionals, in contrast, follow the one-third rule repeatedly, allowing trends to confirm before committing additional capital and adjusting protective stops along the way. This staged participation not only maximizes gain, but also preserves mental clarity and confidence. By isolating each third as a distinct decision point, a trader converts uncertainty into opportunity, transforming volatility from a threat into a calculable advantage. The system also reinforces patience and observational rigor. Each increment requires waiting for confirmation, testing the tape, and adhering to predetermined risk limits. In practice, this converts potential mistakes into data for future decisions, while successful stages compound gains efficiently. Wealth, as Livermore demonstrated, is rarely created through reckless bets or intuition alone. It grows from structured risk, disciplined execution, and psychological mastery. Professionals understand that repetition is key. The first third tests, the second captures, and the final third maximizes, but only within the framework of controlled exposure and verified trends. By internalizing this method, traders create a repeatable process that consistently balances reward and risk, allowing them to participate fully in profitable moves while avoiding catastrophic losses. Mastery is achieved not through occasional brilliance but through adherence to the system, letting trends dictate actions rather than impulses, and reinforcing the cycle of measured participation. The one-third rule provides both a tactical and mental framework that transforms trading from a gamble into a disciplined craft. It closes the loop on earlier principles, integrating patience, risk management, emotional control, and strategic scaling into a single cohesive methodology. For those willing to commit, this approach delivers sustainable results, turning volatile markets into structured opportunities and setting the stage for more advanced strategies such as combining scaling with trend reversals for exponential potential gains.